Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
There's no need for us to celebrate too much because the respect we have for them, they've given us shots many times. So, we're just glad we got 5 points and we're in the mix in the Rugby Championship. Obviously, people are going to talk about the record. Last week, they kept the record at Eden Park and they didn't put it into our faces. So, the scoreline is nice and for the guys to hang in there is nice. It's more for us what we're trying to achieve. So, I know what it feels like in that change room on the other side. So, it's nice, but I don't think we have to dwell on that.
Welcome to Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life. As always, I'm joined here with my friend Rifle. Rifle, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you, Danny. Not looking forward to this weekend with no live games. I'll have to watch replays again, but other than that, all is well. Thanks.
Yes, what a great weekend it was for the men's Springbok team. Unfortunately, the women's team, Springboks, were not victorious this past weekend, the Women's World Cup. But nonetheless, they made history, making it to the quarterfinals of the Women's Rugby World Cup. South Africa Women's Springboks for the first time. So in that aspect, they have made history. So it's a little bittersweet this weekend for the country of South Africa, but nonetheless, it was great rugby this weekend. And I see you're wearing your Springbok jersey to celebrate, which is pretty cool, because the two things that occurred this weekend with the Springboks' victory over the All Blacks was number one, it was their largest victory or the largest defeat, I should say, for the All Blacks. Now, is that at home or is that in all games in history?
I think it's in all games, as I read correctly. I think the biggest defeat for the All Blacks ever. So that was a pretty hard record for them to swallow. Shame.
Yes. And the second thing that happened with this Springbok victory was they reclaimed the number one ranking in the world. So yeah, pretty cool to see. Now, so it's a hit. That game was a historic in those two different scenarios. So yeah, I'm sure you are happy about that. So in this episode, everyone, we're going to be covering round 4 of the Rugby Championship, and we're also going to be covering the quarter-final stage of the Women's Rugby World Cup that's occurring in England currently. So yeah, as always, I feel like I keep repeating myself, right, for a great weekend of rugby, and it's because it's true. Every weekend, it seems like it's a great weekend of rugby, so that's pretty cool to see and watch.
Yeah, this championship, definitely the closest one that's ever been. We are 2 weeks still to go, or rather only 2 weeks still to go, and anyone can win the competition. I mean, the teams are so close. Mm-hmm. And as you said, we won this previous weekend, but the weekend before that we lost. And that's happened to every single team. They've won against the other opponent. They've lost against the other opponent. So that's been very interesting to see that the points margin is so close concerning bonus points and who's leading and who's not. And every single team winning a game, losing a game, then either winning and losing again or losing and winning. So 1-2 lost to all of the teams. So it's such a wonderful competition, this, and every weekend rugby, as you said, has just been amazing. I think, as a Springbok fan, obviously us losing to Australia at Ellis Park by leading, 20-0 after 17 minutes, that was a shock. Played amazing rugby the first 20 minutes and then, battled through the rest of the game, and Australia came back and won. And then our disastrous game at Auckland Park, just Eden Park in Auckland, just missing the win there. Those were two games that did not go well for us at all. But then if you look at the games that we did do well and played to our potential, and so it was amazing. But if you look at Australia, the game that they were behind against Argentina, and then in the last move, as I say, they came back. They just would not back down. It was so good, and if you look at the All Blacks against the Springboks 2 weeks ago, they came out, they handled the weather well, they passed the ball, they did good. So it was really, it doesn't matter who you screaming for and who you want to win. It's just been some really, really good rugby, and that's what it's about.
Yes, that's exactly what it's about, especially again with four powerhouses of rugby. These are games that you expect to see. So yeah, it's a lot of great rugby. You know, that game. Well, let's start with the first game, Australia Argentina. You know, it's starting and trend in my eyes where it feels like the Wallabies start off very slow, very sloppy, and then all of a sudden they just find a way to claw back and get a win, which is great. But you know, it catches up to you. I'm sure, again, Joe Schmidt, the Wallaby coach, has been doing, in my eyes, a great job. I mean, we've spoken about this before. Australia rugby over the past couple of years or so really have been struggling, hasn't been playing to their historical potential and everything. So, Australia coming out of their performance from the British and Irish Lions tour, they could have easily taken two of the three games against the Lions. They took the third one. They probably should have and could have taken that second game, but they didn't. So yeah, so it's been a mixed bag with Australia, with times where they seem, wow, they're unstoppable, and then times where there's sloppy play, slow starts. So I'm sure the coach Joe Schmidt and fans are like, okay, Australia, can you play a complete game where you don't start off slow and then you have to play catch up? So yeah,
Yeah,
so it happened in this game where they had to play catch up, but at the end they couldn't come out with the victory.
yeah, but it is good to see Australia back.
Yes.
It's not nice when you have teams like Wales and teams like Australia that once almost ruled,
Mm,
rugby. It was so good and always up there. I think it's for the last 16 years when Australia play against the All Blacks, they play for the Bledisloe Cup. I think they haven't won. I think it's 16 years, if I'm correct, something like that.
mm,
And now, in 2 weeks' time, they are going to play, and people are giving them a chance. Last year they just lost the one game, and previous year people said they have no chance, and now people are talking about, maybe they could be the team that dismantles the mighty All Blacks at Eden Park.
mm.
Maybe they can stop that 51 test. So it's just nice to have Australia back where people expect them to be, and especially with the Rugby World Cup being in Australia 2027. You want the host nation to do good, you want them to be there and do well. So that's going to be great. But I'm very, very thrilled for Australia and what they're doing now. But as you say, hopefully they can get a game where they, from start to finish, they just flip on all the engines and just run through everything as they have proven possible, that they definitely have the players, they have the skill set, they have everything that's necessary to win. And no more did they show that when they beat the Springboks at altitude at Ellis Park, where they've never won before, broken that record. So welcome back, Australia. It's good to have them again.
Yes. And many people feel that way just listening you got me ever since we started this podcast and I started learning about the wonderful game of rugby. You got me listening to other rugby podcasts, and you know, at least all the different podcasts that I've listened to that you've introduced me to. One of them being Eight Chasers, and the other one, please remind me, Box Office, I believe is the name of
Box office. Now there's one
yes.
called The Verdict. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So all these podcasts that you've introduced me to, they all are saying the same thing. They love that Australia is really competing, and because it's like you say, if Australia is down, it feels like the world of rugby is just not the same. So yeah, it's good to see them
Yeah,
that
Joe
they're
Schmidt
playing
has
the way
done
they
a
are.
wonderful job. So just remarkable. And now when he's finished, unfortunately, and this is a sad thing about rugby, especially with a nation like South Africa, but New Zealand now, where they're talking about the coach, Razor. I felt so sorry for him after the game because, to sit in that press conference and have to ask questions after you've just had the biggest defeat, to me, gee, that's just as hard. I mean, what do you expect the guy to say? How do you feel? What did it's just they haven't seen the tape. They haven't gone through things. They're bleeding on the inside, and yeah, you got all these questions. So there's a lot of talk about, he won the Super Rugby with the Crusaders and he did very well there, but, winning
Mm,
Super Rugby and then being introduced to coaching international level, that's completely different levels. So there's a lot of talk about him. But now, can Joe Schmidt, can he take over from New Zealand when he leaves Australia and goes back? So there's all that talk, which is, it's sad for Razor. I feel really, really sorry for him. But to Joe's credit, Joe Schmidt, man, what a job he's done with Australia. After Eddie Jones left, man, there was a lot of bitterness, there was a lot of hatred, there was a lot of uncertainty concerning the Australian team finances, just everything was just falling apart from top to bottom.
mm.
But he's come back and put hope in the country and the nation again. They're playing good rugby. They're beating teams that no one gave them a chance. And now the next two games they're playing is for the Bledisloe Cup again. But just congratulations to Joe Schmidt. Just hats off. He's done so well.
Yes, yes, he has. And just to give uh, Argentina its flowers as well, their fly half, Santiago Carreras, had an amazing game kicking. Everybody could see on the screen here his penalty kicks. So he had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 penalty kicks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he doesn't miss. He's very accurate. He's very, very sharp. And this is what I was saying last week or the previous episode is if you give that guy a chance, you're a forward and you scrum and you do the lineouts and you play so hard and you just keep on seeing 3 points, 6 points, 9 points, 12 points. That's very demotivating. And
Mm,
I mean, there, look at the points here. Argentina came back and they won. And 7 penalties. So, Australia led in everything in the game. They should have, on paper, territory, ball possession, all of that, but their discipline,
yeah.
the penalties that they gave away. And as I say, you just see the guy kick and you've got to turn around and go back and turn around and go back, and he slots them through the posts. That's very, very demoralizing. You don't want to do that. That's not fun. So yeah, no, all credit to the Pumas. I mean, gee, what a team! Don't lie down. They play till the end. They've come back, dominated some big teams, and they're one of the top now. So they've done very well. So it's once again, it's just good for world rugby.
Yes. Yes, it is. And the th- the thing that you just touched upon, if you're new to this podcast, why penalty kicks? Well, you said it before, Rifle. When the top teams play, uh, kicking is a huge part of the game because a lot of times the games are so close that it comes down to your kicking. And for you, if you're watching this if this is the first time you're watching the podcast and you're new to rugby, is if you're an American football fan, you get 3 points with kicking a field goal. Okay. However, in you don't get to kick a field goal just because the other team commits a penalty. Well, in one instance, if you commit a penalty, you get close enough, then you can kick a field goal. That's a different story. But in rugby, if you get a penalty, you have the option of what they call kicking to posts. So it's essentially kicking a field goal because the other team committed a penalty. So that's why, in close games, like that, when you're having the other team commit so many penalties, whether it's because it's, lack of discipline or because, the offense, your team is aggressive offensively, so that causes the defense to commit many penalties for whatever reason. So it's just amazing to see, and that's why you have a lot of actually kickers in the NFL from whose backgrounds are rugby, a lot of them being from Australia, is because of that. Because, in rugby, you have to be, especially at the fly half position, you have to be really good kicker because kicking is such a huge part of the game. As opposed to the NFL, where, yeah, kicking is important at certain parts of the game, but it's not an essential part of the game. So, yeah. So, a lot of credit to Santiago for having such a great game. And pretty much, you could say that he won the game for Argentina, pretty much, with his kicking game.
No, he did well.
Yes. And then we get to the second game of round 4. Again, wow. I mean, and the crazy thing, Rifle, is at halftime, this was, what was the score?
10-7.
10-7. There you go. So this was a very close game at halftime. And then the second half came, reminds me.
10-7 to New Zealand.
Yes. And then the
To New
second,
Zealand.
yeah, and then the second half came, and this reminded me, and I keep hating to bring this up. The first game of round 1, South Africa against the Wallabies, it reminded me of that game where the Wallabies, close game, and then the Wallabies just turned on, was hitting on every cylinder, and that was the case here. I don't know. I suspect that nobody expected a second half like that. But it did happen, and now the Springboks are number 1 in the rankings, and now they handed the All Blacks the largest defeat in the history of the All Blacks rugby team. So, yeah, a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, a lot went right for us. We had, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, we had a lot of injuries during the game. We lost Reinach. He had to go off for an HIA, so we had to bring on our other scrum half. Then Sasha and Feinberg and Gomazulu, he went off. Then we lost Fassi. So I mean, our players were just there. Grant, he came on and he had to play then on the wing at one stage. But it was good that they could play in other positions, and the guys who were on the field and had to make it work, they made it work. So that was great. What really, really I enjoyed was previously, if you'd noticed, the rules of the game is you have to have your team by Thursday. If you play on Saturday, your team has to be named by Thursday. And Rassie would always, that's why that Tim from Egg Chasers, he always calls it Bok Tuesday, because on Tuesday, Rassie would name the team. And Rassie wouldn't wait till Thursday to name. Tuesday, when they came out, they'd name the team. And if you noticed, I believe the game that we played in Eden Park, we didn't name the team on Monday or Tuesday. We waited till Thursday. And to me, just, this is we don't do that. we name our team Monday or Tuesday, and we say, this is how we're going to play. These are our players. And like we've said on this program before, South Africa is so, a lot of people said, you know exactly what they're going to get. It's such boring rugby. That's what we play. That's how we play. Come and beat us at our game. This is our DNA. This is what we do. But we didn't do that, at Eden Park. And then when we lost that game, I just thought, I wonder if that had something to do with it. Probably not. I mean, there's so many other reasons why we lost. But then this previous weekend, team came out Monday, they were named. It was, okay, this is the way we used to doing it. And then when the people saw our back line with all those youngsters in there, and in that team, you didn't have Eben Etzebeth, you didn't have our two centers, Jesse and Damien D'Alenda. You had two new centers, Damian Willemse playing center for the first time there. So it was just, you didn't have Andre Pollard. You were talking about kickers. You got Mani, you got Sasha and Fine Ngomazulu. So it was just, and you had Mani Libok. So, I mean, who's Rassie going to play? And at the end, it all worked out. But if you saw the players that were picked in the back line, you could understand that we were going to play some running rugby. And that's what they did. When they had the opportunity, they spread the ball. Everything came together. It was good. Even in the first half, we were behind. When you went into the change rooms half time, we were 10-7 behind. 2 tries disallowed, one because of a knock-on. They weren't tries, but the TMO caught it, the ref didn't. And you kick over and it's, we're coming back, and then they take the try away. That's terrible, man. Nothing illegal or bad, it's just we knocked on, so it wasn't a try. But so half-time, it was still 10-7, they were leading, so there was still a lot for the guys to do. But they came out, and then in that second half, they started playing like, the running rugby that those backs could. Our forwards did such a good job up front, getting us on the front foot so we could attack. I don't know if you saw the scrums when Rassie, replaced Volko Lowe, brought him on in that next scrum. Oh my goodness, just wow. It's absolutely, obviously, if you're on the winning side, just to see a scrum like that, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely, as people say, has a thing of beauty. But so many things came together. The guys played out of position, and they still did what they had to do. And in the news conference afterwards, when they spoke to Rassie and they said, how does it feel? And I was so proud of him. I enjoyed our conference a lot. I didn't enjoy the New Zealand news conference just because of the questions they ask, and you don't kick a guy while he's down. But they said to Rassie, how does it feel? This is the biggest win South Africa's ever had, and you've made history and all, and he very graciously said, last week we lost. People are going on about the record, but they held the record. They 51 straight at Eden Park last week. And when they won, they didn't wipe it in our faces and say, see what we did. They were gracious winners. So, we won, we made a record, it's great. But that New Zealand has beaten South Africa with a greater score. They've beaten us 57-0. 57-0. That's where South Africa was. But New Zealand didn't, rub it in our face and sit in the press conference afterwards and say, look what we did. There isn't any of that. So it was just very nice for him to be, it's great, we're going to enjoy it. He looked at Sia and he said, Sia, tonight we're going to enjoy it. And they were asking in other, commentaries, is that cup, because we won the Mandela, the Freedom Cup, we won it back. It's the first time we won it twice in a row now. That thing's going to be overflowing with brandy and Coke. So, Rassie said tonight we are definitely going to enjoy a celebration. But Monday, when we're back, we get off the plane, it's work as usual. So it was just, everything came together. The guys did so well. They played well. The way they started, you could see they were hungry. They were ready for rugby. They were motivated. They were charged. And that's the South Africa that, I love. And that's just the Springbok game that is just so wonderful to watch, where all the guys play their hearts out for their country and for one another. And that it was just a good Saturday if you're a South African.
Yes, it was. So you've mentioned many times when you were born, the first thing that the doctor did was slap you on your backside to make sure you're alive. And the second thing they did was hand you a rugby ball.
A rugby ball, yeah.
Um, do they also hand you a cup of brandy and Coke when you're born as well?
I think if the doctor doesn't do that, your mother does it in the bottle.
Oh, okay. I was
We
just
don't get
wondering.
milk, we get brandy and Coke. I don't know if you watch, but there's another podcast between Sir John Kerwin, who used to be the All Blacks wing.
Mm.
He's knighted. He's Sir John Kerwin, and then a South African Victor Matfield, who won the Rugby World Cup. He played lock, and they've got a podcast as well, and they phone each other right after the game. So I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's terrible to have to speak to the other one. The previous week we did not do well, and Sir John Kerwin was phoning out, and then this past week when Victor called, Sir John Kerwin, and he had a bottle of brandy, Klipdrift and Coke, and there's a little part now where he phoned Victor. And he said to him, I'm going to try this brandy and Coke, and he poured it and he said, man, this stuff is awful. It's ghastly. How do you guys drink this? I must say, he poured a very, very strong one that looked like a triple or two doubles that he poured in there with a little bit of Coke. He doesn't understand how to drink it properly. In any case,
Yes.
yeah. So the brandy and Coke flowed on Saturday. That I can tell you for sure.
Yeah. He didn't mix it properly. You have to
No, he
have your
didn't. No, he did not.
wow, that's amazing. Um, so yeah, I mean, you said it all. It was a great win for South Africa. Just the one thing I did notice, just watching the highlights and everything, and you mentioned this with the team selection is, you had mentioned just moments ago that when you saw the team selection, you were like, okay, this is gonna be a game where they're gonna be pushing the ball and running the ball and being a little more aggressive. And just watching the highlights, that's exactly what you saw. Kicking was a big part of this game, not necessarily, kicking penalties, but kicking to gain territory. And just watching some of those kicks just land perfectly into the hands of a Springbok and them gaining territory rather quickly also played a huge part in this game. I believe there was a couple of times where the Springboks scored from a kick in the second half. So the kicky game was just an amazing thing to watch in this game. And it just
Very,
proves your point that, when you saw the team selection, in your mind, you were saying, okay, this is going to be a quick game. They're going to want to run
yeah.
the ball and be quick. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and if you're a New Zealander, unfortunately for them, they didn't handle. They did so many things wrong. They didn't. It's almost like we were the previous week. They just didn't play well,
Mm,
and it's the same in New Zealand as in South Africa. Because Rassie lost that previous game, and we haven't been doing well. A lot of people. I mean, it's so fickle. Now he's not the best and he's not good, and they should fire him. And we need new players, not new players, but he can't chop and change like that. And now after this past weekend, Dr. Rassie, amazing, best coach ever. But the previous week he was absolute trash. And that's what's happening now in New Zealand as well. But unfortunately, they have they have lost more games now in the last couple of years than New
mm,
Zealand ever have, and people are, how do I put this? They're losing more than they ever did
mm,
previously. And some people are kind of saying we have to get used to that. Other nations are catching up. For example, in Argentina, New Zealand would never have problems to Argentina to play against them before. Now they are. New
mm,
Zealand lost a home series to Ireland in New Zealand. That's never happened before. So these things are happening, and that just builds pressure on you, a negative pressure. You have to perform, you have to produce. And as I say, on Saturday, those kicks that South Africa put up there, some of them just did not go well for the All Blacks. They dropped the ball. They weren't in position when they had the ball. They kicked possession and territory away. Sometimes you can really, really use a kick for a good bit of field advantage or player advantage. And other times you can just kick the ball away because you don't know what to do with the ball. And the forwards work so hard to get that ball. I mean, for a backline player to get the ball, it means the forwards went in there, they scrummed or they did a line out. And you can watch every now and then an All Black just taking the ball and just kicking it. And you would think, why do you, if you're an All Black, I mean, I loved it when they kicked to us and just, but why would you kick such a valuable ball away? Or who are you kicking to? Or why would you kick that side of the field when, there were so many things that they, for them, unfortunately did wrong. They did not play well. And a lot of players say, I don't know, I'm just, after watching a lot of podcasts and listening to former All Blacks, halftime you 10-7 up, last 15 minutes of the game. If you lose, maybe you can lose by 10 points, maybe 12 or 14, but to lose by 30 plus, did these guys just give up? Which is absolutely horrid. If you think that you're an All Black and you just give up, there's no use in trying anymore. So that brings in a whole discussion now about the coaching. It brings in a whole discussion about the New Zealand players that are playing overseas that are not allowed to be picked for the New Zealand, for the All Black team. That's just their policy. Should they start looking at that in a different way? Because there are 3 or 4 players that are playing overseas now. Even if you take just the New Zealanders playing in Japan, if you bring those guys back, to the team now. So it just opens up so much talk. And obviously, if you're on the negative, on the losing side, it's negative energy. So I feel for them because in South Africa, it's exactly the same. I don't know. I think maybe if you're a country or a team that really, really expects your team to do well and they don't, and you start losing and you're not doing as well, all this negative, it's the end of the world, that starts coming out. Now you must look at the coaches and the players that they pick and so on and so forth. But especially South Africa and New Zealand, there's that, as they call it, it's the greatest rivalry under the sun. Like America calls their championship, the World Championship. No, it's not, but we call this rivalry between the All Blacks and the Springboks the greatest rivalry under the sun. And I mean, there was evidence of that. The week before we lost, the week after that we won. So concerning that, it was 1-1 in New Zealand. But, oh my goodness, according to the All Blacks, because they took such a thumping the second game, things are not good. So we'll have to see how they come out of this dilemma that they're facing right now.
Yeah, it's just the nature of sports in general.
It is.
When you're on top, you're expected to win every single game. And if you do lose, you lose, by a couple of points. And okay, yeah, it sucks that you lost, but it wasn't a huge defeat. But when a defeat like this, I guess the big thing, it was again a double whammy for the All Blacks because it's the largest defeat, and then on top of that, you get your first number 1 ranking taken away from you as well. So I guess it's just a double-edged sword with this defeat this past weekend. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's the game of rugby. That's what happens. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. If you're considered the top team or one of the top teams, your fans want you to win every game, and that's just unrealistic. When you're playing another team that's just as good as you are. So yeah, difficult situation. So, as much as we want to continue to talk about Rugby Championship, we could probably talk about this all day, but we got to keep it to under, we try to keep it to under an hour here. So let's move on, Rifle, to the Women's Rugby World Cup that's currently being played in England. And again, Rifle, no surprises here. I know we had mentioned this in the last episode. The top four teams, the top four ranked teams in the world for the women's are in the semifinals. No surprise there. So yeah, you know, again, South Africa making it to quarterfinals for the first time in the history of the Women's Rugby World Cup. Fortunately, they were able to defeat New Zealand. And, you know, the only close game in the quarterfinals was pretty much the France and Ireland. And that game has a huge controversy because of an incident that happened. I forget, was it towards the end of the game? I forget at what moment it happened. Apparently, a French player bites an Irish player on their forearm while a ruck was being formed. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. You know, the whole drama of the Irish players, or Irish fans, I should say, saying how in the world could the TMO have missed that? You know, that whole drama. But it happened. France is victorious. Just came out that that French player has been suspended for 12, was it 12 games or 12 weeks, I believe?
12
I
weeks.
forget, 12 weeks. So that
Yes.
the French player has been suspended for 12 weeks. Yep, a very unfortunate situation, but France advances to the semifinals, forgive me, against England, and then we have New Zealand versus Canada in the other semifinal. So yeah, no surprises there, Rifle.
Yeah, not at all. I don't know too much. I must be honest about the ladies' rugby and all of that. But as you say, I know that the women's Springboks haven't done so well ever in their history. So that was great for them. But then you can see there France, northern hemisphere, Ireland, northern hemisphere, England, northern hemisphere,
Mhm.
Scotland, northern. So out of the six nations, the ladies' rugby is looking very strong there. The northern hemisphere ladies
Yep.
teams are doing very well, but a very unfortunate situation between France and Ireland in that game. Just listening to people, could the captain have stopped and really, I don't know, you can't say demanded, but really, made a bigger issue of it. But as you say, at the end of the day, that's what happened. So now France are going through, Ireland are out. Ireland were leading at halftime. That looked like they were going to run away with it.
Mm.
But France came back, and then that incident happened. But France against England, and that's going to be a huge game. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But, well done to Canada. We expected New Zealand to go through, but now they're going to play Canada. So well done, the Canadian ladies. Good job.
Yes, yes. Well done to our neighbors to the north for
Yes.
having a great run so far. Let's see if they could make it to the finals, to the championship game. We shall see. So yeah, it's going to be again the top four ranked teams in the semifinal. I suspect both games are going to be tough, but I still have England, like you mentioned in the previous episode. England is just wow. I mean, how many wins in a row is it for England now? It's
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's crazy. I think uh when we did our first episode about just giving an overview of the Women's World Cup, I believe it was when we did the episode sometime in May or June or something like that. Um, they were on a 22 game winning streak or something like that.
Okay.
So with all these games here, they're on like probably what, 26, 27 game winning streak,
Yeah,
something like
past
that.
25, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
something like that. So yeah, England is just wow. They just,
Yeah,
a
well,
tough team to beat, and let's see if they win the second consecutive, right? Because I believe they won the last Rugby
previous
World
one,
Cup.
yeah.
Yes. So let's see if they could do a repeat. My bet is on England taking it all.
Yeah.
So we shall
Well,
see.
you were congratulating our neighbors from the north, but the USA Eagles, they qualified for the Rugby World Cup. So, well done to
Oh,
them. They beat Samoa. which is amazing because if I were a betting man, I would put my money on Samoa. And man, US Eagles did it, so they're going to be in the next World Cup. That's amazing.
Yes.
And then in the 31, they have to be there because they're the host nation. So in the
Yes.
next 2 Rugby World Cups, America's men are going to represent. So well done, America. That's phenomenal. Now you can
Yes.
really play against world champions and see how good we are.
Yeah, yeah. They have 6 years to continue to develop their players. So hopefully by then, I mean, just picturing the Rugby World Cup coming to America in 2031. Can you imagine America beating a team, the men's team, beating New Zealand or beating South Africa or a team like that? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? I mean, it's wow. I mean, if that were to happen, it would be like, oof. If that were to happen and the game of rugby does not grow after that, I mean, I don't know what to tell
America
you.
definitely has the numbers and they definitely have the size. They definitely
Yes.
have the skill. If they can do it within 6 years, I doubt, but give them more time. But definitely they have everything that is necessary to be able to be number one in the world
Yes.
with just the sheer money that they can put into the game, the amount
Hmm.
of players that they have, the size of the guys, yeah, that play. I mean, so, America can, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, one of the biggest issues to me would be who's going to be their coach.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing. You can't have someone that hasn't coached international level at the top level of your game and then, try to take on people like Joe Schmidt or Rassie Erasmus or Razor, whoever, Gautier from France. Doesn't matter who
Hmm.
you play against. These guys have all played at the top level of rugby and now they're coaching at the top. So it will take some time for America to be able to match them, but I have no qualms. I have no doubt that America is able. It might just take us a bit more time, but we have the players, we have the funding, we have the size and the skill set. So that's all it will take us time.
Yes. And I think I've mentioned this before. USA Rugby, if you watch this episode, throw money at Rassi. I mean, give him $5-10 million a year. I'm not sure he would take it. I mean, if you offer Rossi $10 million a year, I don't know. There's a high chance he may say, "I love you, South Africa." But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't take it, but I don't know. One can only dream.
Yeah.
So, with that, as always, we like to end most of our episodes with just a few highlighted plays. So these are two games from round 4 of the Rugby Championship. I'm sorry, two plays from round 4 of the Rugby Championship and two plays from the quarterfinal round in the Women's World Cup. So we're going to start off with Australia and Argentina here. And let me just, as always, make this a little bigger. Here we go. And this play we're about to see, please forgive me. Come on, computer, don't act up now. There we go. Here we go. Oh, so this play we're about to see is Australia versus Argentina. Let me just play it. So the play starts off with some type of a penalty during the scrum against Argentina. So Australia is going to kick the ball away. And this happens. The hooker for the Argentinian team blocks the ball, picks it up, and scores a try.
In rugby, that's called a charge down.
Charge down. And it just so happens that the charge down occurred about 8 meters from the Australian try line, which is not good. So yeah, I mean, the Australians got a penalty. They say, okay, now we get to kick it away from our try line. Unfortunately, the hooker, number 2 for Argentina, gets there at the perfect time, blocks the ball, gets the ball, and scores the try. So that is very unfortunate for the Wallabies. I'm sure they just looked and like, oh man, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, it's just great awareness from the captain,
Yes.
looking, especially being the captain, keeping your eyes open, looking at everything at all times on the field, and just having that awareness of he's played, he's moved forward, so he can go and charge down, and there he scores. I mean, what a great try.
Yes, amazing try. And amazing, as they say, a heads up play by number 2 for Argentina. Just timing it perfectly. Okay, so our second game, obviously, New Zealand and South Africa here. So I'm just going to press play here. And this is Chelsea and Colby with the intercept. Wow. And I just want to replay this again one more time. I mean, right there, look at the amount of space that was still there. And let me just play it. Boom. Right here. The speed of Kobe right here. Look at, I mean, he came out of nowhere. And once Kobe gets the ball, nobody's catching up. And he just puts his afterburners on and just scores a try. I had to watch that.
That was another thing. Sorry, talking about how the game swings on important place or important phases in the game. The All Blacks had the ball there. If they did not allow that intercept, they probably would have scored a try.
Yeah,
that would have been 14 points. So Colby scores us, we get our 7. Can you imagine now, once again, South Africa going in, because the previous game, we were just 14-0 behind, bam, bam, 2 soft tries that they scored. But unfortunately for them, not really being all that great on attack, which happened this past Saturday, and Colby gets a ball and scores. And that I'm telling you, if you've ever experienced that, where you are about to score yourself, there are very, very few demoralizing things in life. Like you are about to get 7 points or 5 points, and then hopefully the kick. And the next thing you look and you turn around and there's the opposite jersey going and they score. Now you've got to run all the way from your opponent's line to your line, and 7 point. It's horrible. So they could have been 14-0 up, and there we get our 7 points. So well done to Cheslin Colby, who's a master at that.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It was a huge momentum shift at this point right here. And, just the swing, like you said, that's pretty much a 14-point swing because, like you said, New Zealand scored. That would be tough for the Springboks to claw back in the second half. So, yeah, it was just amazing. And one last thing about this play is I had to watch the play like 5-6 times because I was like, where in the world did Kobe come from? Because he wasn't in the screen, and all of a sudden he pops up and takes the ball. I'm like, where the heck did this guy come from? It happened so quick.
Yeah, if you look from a front view, you can see him there, and what he did so well, like he always does, he actually went and looked as if he was going for the guy with the ball to tackle. And then when the carrier realized that he was going to get tackled, then he made the decision to pass the ball. And then as soon as Colby saw that he's going to do that, he went from his one foot onto the other foot, and then he could go for the intercept.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you look from the front angle, because this was a side angle, it's very difficult to see from here what actually happened.
Oh, okay.
But if you see what Colby did from the front, he went for the defender, for the guy attacking, and then he got that guy thinking, okay, he's committed to me. I need to pass the ball, and as soon as he passed, Colby went onto the other foot and he could intercept. But he's fast, he's quick with that, he's good.
Wow. Which makes it even more amazing play, because just to have the ability just to, be that quick, switching from a tackle and boom, and just switching foot and intercept the ball and taking off. That's just the athleticism that takes to be that quick with your body. It's just, wow.
It is.
Crazy.
But can you remember the previous episode, what I said about the try that they scored in Cheslin and Colby? Can you remember that?
Please remind me.
In the previous game when they scored their second try, was it second? I can't remember, but one of the first tries, when Cheslin Colby went and he fell for the dummy. And I said in rugby 101,
yes, now I
you
remember.
always
Okay, yes.
go for the man with the ball. And that's what happened there. And it didn't work. They scored. This game it worked. So it worked out for him, yeah.
Yes, I do remember that. That was the
Yeah.
play where he fell for the dummy, and then
Correct.
previous to that, the All Black player went to the legs of another Springbok player.
Yeah, right. He went through Willie Leroux's legs. It was just, like I
Yes.
say, a comedy of errors. And then they scored. Yeah, terrible.
Yes. So he made up for that mistake on this play.
He sure did, yeah.
So let's just go to the quarterfinal game in the Women's Rugby World Cup between Canada and Australia. So I'm just going to hit the play button here. So this is just pure speed, spreading the ball. I mean, wow. I mean, that was about what, 4 or 5 passes in like about 3 or 4 seconds?
Yeah.
Amazing play. At one point, I thought the ball was going to be intercepted here, right there.
Yeah,
It looked like the ball was going to be intercepted, but they held on, and then just speed and determination. Wow, what an amazing score right there. So yeah, that's what happens when you have a top-ranked team. They don't think twice about spreading the ball and just being aggressive and moving the ball. And now we have England against Scotland here. Well, let me just play the right here. Oh, no. They dropped the ball out of a line out 2 meters from their try line. Another devastating play. Oh man, that's like the Australia Argentina play we just saw a couple of minutes ago, where you make a mistake so close to your try line and then the other team scores. Another devastating score for Scotland. Wow.
Especially if the other team is England. I mean, they're so
Well,
good.
yes,
They put pressure on you.
Yes.
And that pressure just builds. And when you're 5 meters from your own try line, your ball, there's so much pressure on you. The call goes wrong or whatever, and the wrong jumper gets it or whatever. The ball goes to the ground. And England are just good, and they pounce on that, and they know exactly what to do then.
Yes, that's another big factor. You're playing against the number 1 ranked team in the world who hasn't lost in 25, 26 games. So,
yeah,
not only are you playing the best team in the world, you just made a huge mistake close to your try line. So, yeah, not good. But, it happens. So, with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode, round 4 of the Rugby Championship. Rifle, it's just amazing, the game of rugby. There's so much to talk about, so many great stories. The culture of rugby is so amazing that you try to keep it, the episodes, not too long, but man, you just start talking about rugby and it's just, you get lost in the wonderful game of rugby.
that's easy to do.
Yes. So with that, everyone, again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Rifle, as always, thank you, sir, for
Very welcome. Thanks for watching all. Yeah.
yes. So until next time, everyone, take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.